Running through the installation wizard is pretty straightforward. And so once you've obtained your copy of IX Workplace, we're going to extract the contents. And within the folder, we're going to double click on the MSI within. Accept the end user license agreement, and if you're just using this for the SIP client, select custom. I'm going to disable the Outlook plugin and web extension, and I'll accept the default installation path, choose my language, and your installation proceeds without you. Once completed, the client launches and we're presented with a couple of options. Now I want to add a little bit of security to my registration process, so I'll be registering with TLS. And before I register the client, I need to install the System Manager root certificate into my PC's Trust Store. Begin by logging into System Manager, choose Services, Security, Certificates, and then Authority. And we navigate to CA Structures and CRLs to download this PEM file. Let me drag the root certificate into view. I'll right click on it and choose rename so that we can change the file extension to .crt. Now right click on the certificate again and choose install certificate. Yes, we want to open this file. Choose current user, place all certificates in the trusted root certificate authority store and choose finish. Select yes when prompted because we know that this certificate comes from a trusted source. Starting with the manual setup process, choose Configure My Account, select the gear icon, and select Expert Mode. Starting with Accounts, we enter in our SIP extension and the password used for registration. Next, choose Services and click Phone Service. We enter in the Session Manager Security Module IP address, TLS port 5061, and our SIP domain. Then choose Done. The client restarts on that prompt, and let me close out this tutorial. We can see that our SIP station is now registered. Let me make a quick test call. Yep, perfect. That looks great. Incoming call is successful to our client. To prepare the client for the next setup method, I'm going to reset it to default settings. I do this by clicking on the gear, choose Support, and select Reset Application, then Clear. Again, we choose Configure My Account, selecting the gear icon once again, but this time we choose Web Address. I'm typing in my HTTP server and the absolute path to my settings file, which I named ixconf.txt. Choose Next. The client now asks us for our username and password, skipping the tutorial once again, and we are registered to our Avaya Session Manager. Let's make a quick test call. Yep, everything looks good. So let's check out where that ixconf.txt file lives. Jumping over to my Windows server, which has IIS set up, this file lives in a folder called IXW, and the client uses all of the settings in this file to automatically configure itself. And I like this method because it removes a few steps for the end users. One step in particular is that they don't have to manually install the root certificate. Jumping back to my PC, let's go to the Microsoft Certificate Manager by opening Run and typing certmgr.msc. In the first example, we manually install the certificate into this trusted root certificate authority. By using the settings file method, the client creates a new Avaya IX Workplace Trust Store, and we can see that it puts the root certificate into the store automatically for us. I want to take a minute to talk about the SIP server address. Remember that we typed in the security module address in manually earlier, and upon review, we can see that our settings file populated this address for us. Whether done manually or automatically, you can only have one SIP server address in the client. However, if we navigate to the System Manager and check on the status of our SIP extension, we can see here that it's registered to 2 session managers. But how did it do that? If we navigate to where the SIP user is built, I can see that I have the SIP extension set up to register to both Session Manager 1 and 2. The Session Manager sends something called PPM data to the phone to tell it that it has to register with both of these session managers. If you want to see the PPM data, you have to log into the management interface of Session Manager. And to find the IP address used for accessing the Session Manager management interface, go back to System Manager, choose Elements, Session Manager Administration, choose your primary session manager and select View. Here we can see the management access of Session Manager as well as the security module IP address that the SIP stations use to register with Session Manager. Using PuTTY, log into Session Manager and run the trace SM command. Once open, choose SIP and PPM. I'll factory reset my application once again on the side and reconfigure it using the web access method. And once the client registers, we see a lot of information come across our terminal. I'm interested in seeing one thing, the PPM data. There, we can see the phone sends a get home capabilities. It wants to know where it lives, and the session manager responds by sending a get home capabilities response back to the client, providing information for the primary session manager and secondary session manager. Now our client has redundant SIP registration paths.